Welcome to episode 10 of Roll With It, a series where I do my best to take a randomly rolled up mishmash D&D character and make them powerful enough to take on a monster decided by the dice. Today we're using the 5e rule set and rolling with these beautiful rainbow dice. Each die has layers of colors in it like a rainbow. Now let's get started. First let's roll up our character's race, and a 6 gets us a monstrous lineage. Rolling on that table gets us a 5, which is a hobgoblin. Now let's roll up our class. A 9 makes this a ranger. Rolling on the ranger conclave table gets us a 5, which is a horizon walker. Lastly, let's find out what level we are, and we get a 14. This is going to be a 14th level hobgoblin horizon walker ranger. Let's start with our ability scores. To maximize our abilities, I want to make this a ranged attacker, so I'm going to put all of our points into dexterity, constitution, and wisdom. Then with our racial ability points, we're going to bump each of those up to 16. This build is going to get 3 ASIs, and we're going to use 2 of them to raise our dexterity all the way up to 20, and the last one to take the feat, Sharpshooter. Now, Sharpshooter is a really powerful 5e feat, but you want to make sure you don't take it too early because you need a hefty to hit bonus to absorb that -5 to hit. Which is why at second level, we're going to take the fighting style, Archery. Now our character is going to have a +12 to hit with ranged weapons and a +7 to hit even when they use Sharpshooter. For our armor and weapons, we're going to grab studded leather, a longbow, and for melee weapons, maybe a couple of scimitars. Now what's really going to help us be effective with this character are the spells that we choose, and we have to be careful because we only get to select 8. There's 2 criteria I'm going to use to decide which spells I select. The first one is I don't want to load up on too many spells that require a bonus action to cast. One of the Horizon Walker's core features is called Planar Warrior, and it requires a bonus action to use. It's going to turn all of our damage for that attack into force damage, which is the least resisted type of damage in 5e, and it's going to add another 2d8 force damage on top of that. So we're going to probably want to use that pretty much every round, which means we can't be casting a bunch of bonus action spells. That said, there's a few that are too good to pass up, like Hunter's Mark or Nature's Guardian. Hunter's Mark is going to give us a buff to damage on every single attack. Nature's Guardian is going to allow us to get advantage on every single ranged attack if we choose the tree form. The other thing we want to think about when we're choosing spells for this character is we're a hobgoblin, and hobgoblins are really good in groups. They have 2 core features, Fey Gift and Fortune from the Many, and these are going to allow them to buff other allies really well and get buffed in return by those allies. Which means if we're traveling solo, we need to be able to create some allies. So I'm going to make sure that I take either summoning spells like Summon Fey or Summon Elemental, or conjuring spells like Conjure Animals and Conjure Woodland Beings. Now to finish beefing up this character, we're going to actually use a few optional ranger features from Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. We're going to replace Favored Enemy with Favored Foe for an extra damage buff. We're going to replace Natural Explorer with Deft Explorer so we can use Canny to get expertise in our stealth skill and add another 5 feet to our speed. And lastly, we're going to replace Hide in Plain Sight with Nature's Veil. Alright, now let's see what we're up against. Rolling on our CR7 table, we get a Warlock of the Fiend. At first, you might not think this enemy is much of a threat with an AC of 15 and only 78 hit points, but this is a very powerful spellcaster with a spell save DC of 15 and the ability to cast up to 7 high-level spells per encounter, including things like Feeble Mind, Finger of Death, Plane Shift, Banishment, Flame Strike, and Wall of Fire. And if that's not enough, they've got 4 Eldritch Blasts per turn to fall back on. Okay, there's definitely a couple of things I'm worried about here, most notably Feeble Mind and Banishment. Feeble Mind is an intelligence saving throw, Banishment is a charisma save, and we are terrible at both of these. Feeble Mind, if it hits us, is going to take away all of our spellcasting ability, and Banishment could take us out of combat completely for about 10 rounds while this Warlock plans whatever they want for when we get back. That said, if we're not foolish and we recognize the threat that this enemy represents, I think we're going to be fine. On our turn, all we're going to do is play it simple and safe. We're going to take the attack action and make 2 attacks using Sharpshooter against this enemy. That combined with Favored Foe is going to do about 43 points of damage. Then with our bonus action, we're going to activate Nature's Veil and we're going to turn invisible until the start of our next turn. Now there's a lot of disagreement amongst DMs about how you adjudicate invisibility during combat, but for the purposes of this, let's just assume we have a DM that makes the harshest ruling possible, which is even though we're invisible, this enemy knows exactly where we are at all times. it still doesn't matter, because the whole reason we used Nature's Veil and turned invisible was not to hide from them, but to make it so they can't use their best spells against us. Feeble Mind, Finger of Death, and Banishment, along with many of their other spells, require them to be able to see us to cast it, which means we just took their best weapons out of the fight. Now, they're probably going to hit us with some kind of area effect spells like Flame Strike or Wall of Fire, but that just plays to our strengths because we've got a plus 10 bonus to our dex saving throws. When our turn rolls back around, we're going to become visible again, and we're just going to hit him with 2 more sharpshooter attacks and then turn invisible again. We can use Nature's Veil up to 5 times, giving us plenty of time to whittle down their hit points, even if we miss on a few of the attacks. I'm going to go ahead and call this another W in the books for us. Now drop in the comments and let me know what you think, and I'll see you in the next video.